Bring the children to Fruitcake Man. I love the children. Go on, take a gift. I feel nothing. No. Ah! Ah!
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society.
Oh, joy!
Let's rock.
It makes me wanna fart!
Dear Journal, it's me, Doug.
You have it!
Baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do.
That was a hoot!
On your mark. Get set.
Oh, here it goes!
Welcome to Splat Attack, where we're taking it back to the holiday past. I'm your gaktastic co-host, Brett.
And I am your slymorific co-host, Alex. And Brett, Merry Christmas, dude.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Where did the time go? We were just at school with Brienne, and now we're like...
On Christmas break!
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, all those things to all of you who are listening. And we have got a whole family gathering for the holidays from what I'm seeing.
This is a very merry Podmas for all us 90s nostalgia podcasters, and we figured it'd be a fun idea rather than just Alex and I doing a typical top 5 episode of Nick specials to include everyone else that we've met along the way of our podcast journey. So before we begin with listing our favorite Christmas specials from the 90s, let's introduce everyone so you can get familiar with them and also their work. And starting on my left on the screen, we have Andrew.
I'm Andrew. You might know me from the Big Orange Couch podcast, possibly. Glad to be here. Happy holidays to everyone.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey,
Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Also author of Space Junk.
Yes, actually, I asked him for a copy today. Okay, next we have Cole Roberts.
Hey, my name is Cole, and like Brett said, and I do podcasting as well. I'm a full-time illustrator too, so I draw all day, and then a couple of times, I feel like it's a couple of times a year, but I have 2 podcasts that I do that are kind of retro, I guess, nostalgia based, and and I live in Nashville, and I like it.
It's Saturday Morning Ice Cream and Saturday Horror Ice Cream.
It's Scary Movie Ice Cream Night and Saturday Morning Ice Cream.
Gotcha.
Yes,
I really like.
I forget my show titles all the time. So.
It's all good. It's all good. I really liked your toy episode, by the way. That was a fun one when you reviewed.
Thank you. Yeah, we're hoping to do another Christmas one. It's just both Mike and I are have young kids, and so when we podcast, it's like very sporadic.
Moving on, we have Phil.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's nice to meet all of you. And you guys will meet my co-host here in just a moment. We do a pop culture nostalgic show called All Here It Goes. We go back every other week and talk about a different show from our childhood, from 90s, early 2000s. I also have a couple other podcasts. I have the Wait For It podcast, which is a more of a current event pop culture show. So we've been busy with that. And I also cover the Jacksonville Jaguars for Believe in the Jaguars podcast, which is exhausting because they're terrible. So
oh no,
I'm excited to have a little fun with y'all and be a little distracted because that's exhausting.
I'm sorry. I thought that was a joke at first.
It can be. Yeah, it can be.
Are you also a fan of the Red Jaguars from Legends of the Hidden Temple by chance?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
They're much better than the Teal Jaguars here.
Definitely. You should check out our episode that we did with Red Jaguar Joe True from episode 5. We actually got to hear his experience about the war fan of the 47 Rowan, and that was a great experience. So check that out.
Definitely have to add that to the queue. Absolutely. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to excited to hang out with everyone.
Awesome. On to Max.
Hey, my name is Max. I'm from LA and part of the Ready to Retro podcast with my cousin Chris and our buddy Chelsea. So it's a 80s and 90s podcast, and we have a lot of fun. So repping Ready to Retro today.
Awesome. And I was recently on one of your episodes for Are You Afraid of the Dark and Halloween, which was a blast to do.
You were. It was. I mean, we had to have the fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark, so it was an awesome time.
For sure. Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Moving on, we have Allie.
Oh, hello. I'm Allie. I am part of a 90s Dungeons and Dragons podcast called Dungeons and Decades. It's a real play D&D podcast about 4 players transported to a 90s universe having to work their way home. I am also part of Krebstar Industries on Instagram, little Pete and Pete fan art page, and another little podcast called Notable Nostalgia.
Allie does it all and does it great. Moving on, we have Toby and Brooke.
Hey, this is Toby and Brooke.
Hi.
I'll let Brooke, say some stuff.
Yes, you will.
We're coming out of Georgia, Atlanta area. And we do the Tape Store podcast, which is about all things 80s and 90s. It can be toys,
Family friendly.
Yeah, TV show. Yeah, we do keep it family friendly. We do have a lot of our listeners have kids. They listen with their kids in the car. So
and we have 2 kids. We have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old who make frequent appearances, usually unannounced. On the podcast. So
same.
Yeah.
So we just did Christmas Vacation, National Lampoons last week, and that was hard because
really hard not to say some
not to quote that really the way to do. It
was a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
So and we're really happy to be here. It's great to meet everybody.
Hey guys.
Awesome. Moving on, we have Eric.
Yeah, I'm Eric Michael. I co-host the All Here It Goes podcast with Philip. Philip kind of gave you guys all the information about the podcast, so I won't bore you with all that again, but I'm happy to be here with everybody.
Yeah, you along with us are like the youngest podcast of the bunch, but you definitely have like a great level of quality with, the way you produce your episodes. I particularly got hooked with the Say Cheese and Die one that you did, the review, and also Bart's Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate it. I mean, I attribute a lot of that to, I have an audio background, but Phil's been doing some podcasting he's been podcasting for years longer than me. So he definitely brings a lot to the table.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah. It's worth it. Like the quality shows. Hang in there. All right. Moving right along, we have Cortland.
Hi guys, I'm Cortland. I'm one of the hosts for the Up All Night Horror Anthology podcast. We've covered every single episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, kind of scene by scene, line by line, and we're working our way through Goosebumps right now. We've actually had a couple of you guys on our show already too. Brett joined us for season 2. We had Toby and Brooke on for season 4. We had Joey from Big Orange Couch. She was in season 7 and season 5 as well.
I think he did Gruesome Gourmets and Highway 13.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, he requested Gruesome Gourmets. An odd choice, but a very fun one.
They had a fun conversation about that when Andrew, Joey, and I talked about our review of season 6 and 7 on Big Orange Couch.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, so bad it's good. Last but not least, we have the wonderful Cassandra.
Hey, yes, I do Cassandra Explains It All, allegedly, and I'm just do 80s, 90s, and early 2000s nostalgia. I definitely am not kid friendly, so I know that.
Me neither.
Trigger warning for every episode. No, but Brett and I actually do have a series of Are You Afraid of the Dark that we've been doing, and we've just been going randomly episode by episode and covering all of them, and it's been really fun.
Yeah, we're doing like a breadcrumb trail, 6 degrees of separation type thing where we find a common element between the episode we're doing and then the one we're doing next. So I think we just finished Dream Girl and Unexpected Visitor in Station 109.1. And next on the list would be like Old Man Corcoran, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun listen for anyone who's big into Are You Afraid of the Dark, which, spoiler, everyone here is.
We have a really good time on those episodes.
Yeah, it's a blast. Awesome. Well, now that our Slimesters and Gackoids are more familiar with our podcast pals from the 90s Nostalgiaverse, let's jump into some of our favorite 90s TV Christmas specials, Nickelodeon or otherwise. And beginning will be my choice from 1994 with Rocko's Modern Christmas. So what can I say about Rocko's Modern Christmas? growing up, I just really loved drawing cartoons, cartoony things. I was like ingesting everything Nicktoons when they first came out. Doug, Rugrats, Ren, Stimpy, all of them. And then Rocko is kind of like the fourth child that got left behind, but finally caught up in 1993. But something about the way that it presented Christmas felt very different and fresh to me. Like the idea that, it's trying to snow, but there's no snow outside, with that like single cloud that's just looming over Rocko's house, and how like Rocko's like trying everything he can to like get everyone invited to his Christmas party. And at first they, everyone in O-Town wants to come because, through the magic of just telephone and having the message being passed along, everyone finds out about it. But unfortunately, because Ed Beakhead thinks that he can't go to the party because he didn't get invited, he kind of pulls a old man Scrooge move by spreading rumors that the elves that recently moved into town have like foot festering fungi or something along those lines that everyone's like afraid to get because they would be present at Rocko's party. So I thought that was an interesting spin on a Christmas tale, and there's just a lot of great moments, a lot of great quotes. I mean, you heard the Fruitcake Man part of the intro of this episode. That's like one of my favorite moments there, and I wish they utilized him more, but it's a one-off character. What can you do? He's like the king of Festivus. Really love the pacing of the episode. I like how there's just a lot of great sight gags, like when Heifer and Filbert are talking or like selling Christmas trees outside the mall in their little tent, and they got like a cactus, a wooden soldier upside down in a metal bucket, and then this like tree that's panting like a dog. And I just remember being like so traumatized when that tree like got chopped down with a chainsaw. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a dog dying, but it's in tree form. Oh my goodness. And then Filbert just like installs it in Rocko's house, and it just happens to be like 50 feet tall, a lot bigger than what it looked like at the mall. Very sweet, very heartwarming, a lot of great moments. I don't know what else I can say about it. I'd love to hear someone else's take on it if they remember Rocko's Modern Christmas.
Yeah, that tree gag was my favorite gag of the whole thing. The whole episode was great, but that one, the happy tree, dead tree.
Yeah.
It's so morbid, but that's Rocko for you.
Yeah, morbid and full of innuendos whenever they can stick them in there.
I like how the cloud is like constipated in the beginning.
Right? He even drinks prune juice at one point.
Yeah. So actually, this was going to be the episode I was going to talk about, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite as well.
I just like the elf Mitch. I just think that's great.
Yeah, the three-legged elf, and supposedly he was lost in a blizzard, but when he showed up in a taxi, then he was like, "No, I just went into seclusion because I felt like it." Fair enough. Maybe he just needed some time away from his elfy brethren.
And the way he would say, "No, daddy."
Yep, exactly. I was like, what accent is that?
Elvish.
Oh, and we can't forget about the robot Santa that like the elves are piloting, and it plays that catchy jingle twice in the episode. One when like Rocko visits the elf's house across the street, and also another time like in the credits where it goes like ho 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 ho, and then music starts playing.
Wow. Elves. You're all elves.
Okay, Control. We're gonna try the ho 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 button again. Doc.
This is a good time.
I'm just always happy when Rocko gets recognition.
Definitely. Yeah. Gotta keep those shows of our childhood alive. So moving on to Alex, what have you chosen for your favorite 90s TV Christmas special?
Okay, so I've got to preface that mine is a bit of a cheat. And for that, I apologize. But I watched this more in the 90s. It did not come out in the 90s. Technically, it came out in the 80s. But my brother, who I've said in a previous episode, is 8 years older than I am. And he got me into this show when I was young, really, really young, and recorded this special. And then every year, we watched it. So I have more memories of watching it in the 90s than I do the 80s, which is why it clicks with me that it's a 90s show initially, and it's clearly not. And then somehow it got recorded over And there was a video store, Movie Warehouse, that was close, and they had a single VHS copy of the special. And then the shop closed, and I had no way of watching this thing ever until 96, 97. My dad was watching like QVC or one of those paid for by our garbage networks. Yep. And they were selling VHS copies of the show, and act now, and you can get the Christmas special of Pee-wee's Playhouse Christmas Special.
Interesting.
I love this special. It's not Nickelodeon. I don't care. I love the Nickelodeon ones. I love all the other 90s TV shows, but I can quote the entire 45-minute show beginning to end, and I was doing that earlier today, and I was driving my wife nuts. She hates that special. But if you've ever seen Pee-wee, it's, you know what you're getting into. There's no plot. There really is no plot. It's just a series of goofy sketches. Pee-wee has made a huge Christmas list, and everyone's wondering how he's going to get everything on his list. And the running gag is everybody is giving him fruitcake for Christmas, and he gets so much he makes a room out of fruitcake, and it's absolutely filled with special guest stars, so much so that you can hardly go 2 minutes without seeing a new special guest. And on the DVD that they had put out, the actress who played Miss Yvonne had said that her outfit was so decked out with Christmas, and her hair was filled with different Christmas decorations. It's not in the episode, but they put lights in her hair, and they had it attached to a battery pack. And then when they went to turn it on, there was so much juice going to those lights that it melted and was actually starting to burn her skin. And they didn't, and she didn't realize because it was happening so fast, but a tech crew member yeeted the thing off of her head. And then she was like, okay, I don't want to wear that. And they didn't make her, but it is a fantastic episode, and is the only Christmas special that I have to watch every year.
Wasn't Sharon this too?
She was. One of the other cameramen, I think, had said that he was a huge fan of hers, and he brought the Cher doll to the set and showed it to her so she could sign it. And of course, he's got to say, I'm a big fan. And she wasn't impressed. She was like, oh, of course you are. You got the stupid doll.
When you said it has a lot of cameos in it, and when I Googled this, because I've never seen it, I was like, is that Little Richard in this picture?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's wild.
What?
It's like one of the first pictures that come up when you Google it.
It's just the most random cameo, but I love it so much.
And
the whole thing is random, all of them.
And Little Richard has like such a his personality, it's like he's from another dimension, which I think there's these artists that are like so talented, like it's like they're
not one of us.
It's like you're not one of us, I would have loved to have seen someone explain it to Little Richard, and he's like, all right, okay. I just feel he's just like, yeah, sure, I'll show up.
Well, I think Little Richard played the dad in The Tale of the Captured Souls too, didn't he?
Oh, that was cool, Dad. That was his name was Doug Spellman, his character, or his real name. It's one of the two. Yeah.
Is that true? Like,
no, that wasn't.
He looks a lot like Little Richard, and also a little bit of.
They got the same
Lionel
mustache.
Richie.
Oh, it was Lionel Richie.
He was in an episode of Full House, but he was not.
He was Denise's uncle.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's a great pick, Alex. I did not see that coming because I thought you were going to mention the Christmas episode of You Can't Do That on Television, since you said 80s.
I do really enjoy that one, but no, it's Pee-wee all the way.
Cool. All right. Moving on to Cole. What have you got for us for your favorite 90s Christmas special?
When Brett told me how many people were going to be on this podcast, I immediately freaked out because I thought, if I'm going to go like early, I don't want to feel bad for taking somebody's, so I have to risk it. So my favorite is the Kenan and Kel episode, the Christmas episode, Merry Christmas, Kenan. And yes. It's so good. Like my sister and I were huge Kenan and Kel fans. Like I love both Kenan and Kel individually. Like I've watched them in so many things growing up, and then to this day. So that show was just hilarious to me, and I watched it all the time. And the Christmas episode I thought was just so brilliantly done, because it's for Christmas, especially at the age I was when it came out, I remember just like being very obsessive about like, what can I get for Christmas? What does it do, that I want, making the list and, looking through the Sears catalog, Toys R Us catalog. And Kenan, he's carrying around this pamphlet pretty early on in the show because he wants his mountain bike. And, this is the type of thing I would do. You would have that item in that catalog and you would just kind of, dwell over it for weeks and months until, Santa Claus came. And I was just so impressed that he, kind of saw it when what ends up happening is he ends up playing a Santa Claus at a toy department because some kid belts Santa in the face, punches him in the face, knocks him out. And so logically, find somebody in the store to immediately go replace Santa Claus. And Kel gets to be an elf. It was actually it was great. Like, I think they should have done that. As Kel would have said, do this all year round, which was a great joke. But I love that he, kind of gave up his mountain bike dream to purchase these toys for these kids that came through the line. And, their mother had basically told them that she lost her job and they've fallen on hard times. And so he shows up that night as Santa Claus and delivers a bunch of toys. And I always thought that was awesome. But I think the most mind-blowing thing was that I always thought about was how expensive was this mountain bike that he wanted, because he comes rolling through and he's got like a portable CD player, stuffed animals, a bike for both the boy and the girl in the family, all sorts of stuff. I'm sitting there like, that's crazy. Cause I'm thinking like, I'm crunching numbers in my head. Like, well, the kid's bike, the boy's bike, that's probably like $300 or $400. And the girl's bike, maybe give or take $100 less than that one. And just trying to figure out like how expensive this mountain bike was. But I always thought that was like pretty good, working at a grocery store part-time while you're still in school and then playing Santa a couple of times. That's some pretty good money. So I don't know. I was always, obsessed with that episode, and I watch it every year to this day. It's one of the few specials I go back to. And it really reminds me of a time where my sister and I had most of these Nick specials recorded on a VHS tape that we would just play over and over, commercials and all. I mean, you can't skip that because, some of the best toy commercials shown in between, but it's not Christmas if there's no Kenan and Kel Christmas special.
Yeah, definitely. That's an excellent pick. When I was originally doing a top 5 for this episode, that was like number 3 on my list because I really loved how heartwarming it was with like Kenan making the decision to like give up his bike at first for the kids who like were going through hard times in Christmas. So just to see that and, mixed with their trademark comedy and Kel going nuts as an elf, it was just fun from beginning to end. And I think Kenan and Kel in general just do holiday specials really well, more than other 90s Nick shows. Like, they're very consistent with their quality.
Yeah, and that was that first season too. So I mean, I remember the intro, they come in with like the sled onto the stage and they had the fake snow. I was like, oh man, this is going to be so good. So, I mean, they really did a great job, like introducing the episode. And then like, it just felt special from the beginning. Like every episode always had that gag right before where, Kel would say something and Kenan would, take it as like, okay, this, let's start the show. I've got this crazy idea. And, like I said, when the sled came out and the snow started coming down, I was like, oh, wow, it felt special. And it really was like, they absolutely delivered. And then the end, having the whole cast come out and sing, A Christmas Carol was really fun too. And then obviously the All Here It Goes towards the end joke that, you have to have. It was just really well done.
Yeah, it's pretty much taking a page out of the playbook of Charlie Brown Christmas with like everyone singing at the end. I thought it was great.
Yeah. And you can't forget the infamous tuba phone, the toy I wish existed, right? Like, I wish I could be blowing a tuba during this conversation. One of the best lines in television history.
We'll see if we can find one for you.
Please do, yeah.
And the basic premise of the episode very much reminded me of the Boy Meets World Christmas episode with not Sean, Eric wanting to be he was a Santa Claus and he was giving gifts to anybody.
Santa's little helper.
Yeah.
Let's go with Phil. What is your favorite 90s Christmas special?
Yeah, absolutely. And me and Eric kind of actually, I think we have the same one, so we might tag team this. Actually,
Okay.
I didn't mean, I don't mean to mess your rotation up, but
Oh, you're fine. Go for it.
Yeah, we are going to tag team this one. It's one we've been talking about all day. And for those of you who haven't seen our artwork for our podcast, it is like a cross between Kenan and Kel and Hey Arnold. So we're either going to go with Kenan and Kel or Hey Arnold. We went with Hey Arnold, and we went with Arnold's Christmas from season 1. And that episode holds a very special place in my heart for a whole bunch of different reasons. Like, one of the main things we talk about on our show is we talk about either the representation or the lack thereof, from those shows back in the day. And one reason Hey Arnold is like one of my favorite shows of all time is it was just so ahead of its time in terms of the subject matter that it tackled and stuff that you just really weren't used to hearing about, as a kid. Like, I was 8, I think, when this episode came out, 1996. So yeah, 8 years old. So the only thing, because in this episode, they don't come out and say it, but it is referencing, of course, the Vietnam War. And the only thing that I'm familiar with is that my dad fought in the Vietnam War. You don't really know anything about it. It's kind of like looked at as this shameful past of America, right? No one really likes to talk about it. But then you don't think about the other side of that. And we get to see a character in Mr. Wynn. And this was their first Christmas special. So they easily could have gone a pretty traditional route, and they didn't do it, So it's like the fact that they dove into this story with Mr. Wynn was so... look, obviously watching it as an adult, it really gets you. As a kid, you're like, man, this is something I really didn't register what was going on. How about you, Eric? How did you feel at the time when you first saw it compared to, of course, watching it now when it's like a totally different experience?
Yeah, same. It didn't really land on me the same way as a child as it does, as an adult, especially on top of that, being a parent now and, seeing him have to make the decision between, do I keep my child with me, or do I, send my child onto this helicopter to go to a brand new country that I'm not familiar with and not know exactly when I'm going to see, her again. He had to make that tough choice, and he did. And, it ended up being 20 years that, before he was able to get out of Vietnam and to make it to America, to a city that they didn't really tell us where Arnold was living at all. They didn't even tell us. But, it took him all that time to get there and to find her. So yeah, it definitely, tugs at the heartstrings a bit differently now than it did as a kid.
But also it still has a lot of really great jokes in it. Like in the very beginning where Arnold is asking what Gerald got for his family. He's like, oh, I got my mom, my dad a tie. I got my brother a tie. I got my sister a tie. And then at the very end, when Arnold talks him out of getting ties for everybody, Gerald's like, all right, see you later. He's like, where are you going? He's like, oh, I got to return your gift. Because he clearly got Arnold a tie. So there's still all that really great stuff. And also you see the relationship between him and Gerald. Gerald stuck by him through that whole day, Christmas Eve, spent the whole day with him. And then, of course, again, one of my favorite parts about it too is Helga having one of those classic, am I going to do the right thing? She wanted those snow boots so bad, and she got them, and she gave them up, so that Arnold and Mr. Wynn could have this special Christmas. And, she's still absolutely insane, but she's just such a great character. I mean, you could give her own series. Eric, you and I have talked about that. I mean, she's a main character, and she really flashes in this episode.
She does. And, the thing I like about this episode, and in general, I would say Hey Arnold was one of the few cartoons that my entire family would actually sit around and watch. And I think the reason why, I have an older brother that's 7 years older than my mom. So 9 times out of 10, they weren't trying to watch any cartoons with me and my younger brother, but Arnold had such good themes, and it always had some type of message and something to kind of learn and take away from. I think that it kind of allowed everybody in the house to actually enjoy it. So I never had a hard time getting everyone to sit down and watch Arnold. And in this particular episode is just one of those episodes that just has a great lesson in it. It kind of has a duality, because you're toggling back and forth between Helga and then Arnold and Gerald. And you can see Arnold is really in the Christmas spirit. He's trying to learn about Mr. Wynn and what he can do to, help him find his daughter. Even like Phil said, he's telling Gerald that it's not just as simple as getting someone, any old gift. It needs to be something that's from the heart. But then on the completely other side, you have Helga, who's being completely selfish, and she's all about getting presents at the beginning of the episode. But through the course of the episode, Helga learns that Christmas is more than, presents for herself, and that she seemed to have felt better doing something for Arnold, who was doing something for Mr. Wynn, at the end of it all. And again, it's just, like I said, Arnold always had those great messages. And this is just a Christmas special that has stuck with me through my childhood and my adulthood.
And then the last thing I'll mention too, I think one thing that really helps out is the authenticity of it, because Bowen Coleman, who is Mr. Wynn's voice actor, was in Vietnam when all this was going on. So like they brought him along, showed him the first draft of the story and all that kind of stuff to make sure it was authentic to what was going on. So that really, I think, made a huge difference. Not only did it have, Vietnamese voice actor, which again, not a whole lot of those back in the day. So that made a really big difference. And then the last thing I'll point out is, I thought it kind of sucked for Mr. Bailey. Arnold and Gerald got everything on the list except the boots that had been sold out for months, and he still wouldn't help them until Helga gave. I hope Helga got to keep the boots because they got everything else. That was his fault, Mr. Bailey.
Yeah, I was hoping he at least gave her the money for the boots, because I'm assuming Arnold and Gerald gave him the difference, back. But they didn't get into all that.
We'll leave that to the imagination.
Yeah.
While I put up Christmas decorations, like I'm sure many families do, just play Christmas movies and specials and things like that. And I went through the whole gamut of different Nickelodeon specials. And my wife was in the room just rolling her eyes at Rocko. I think her eyes completely disappeared when Ren and Stimpy came on. But when it got to the Hey Arnold episode, I would occasionally see her glancing back at the TV, and then because she had never seen a single episode, and after the episode was done, she had a slight pause and went, "That was a very sweet episode." And it really is everything you said, especially with it really breaking the norm for Christmas specials, makes it that much more special among Christmas specials.
Yeah, I think it's still kind of mentioned, amongst those top tier lists. So yeah,
agreed.
Definitely sticks out.
But moving on, Max, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So, well, you took my episode, so I'm like, crap.
You got a backup, or do you want to add anything?
I got a backup, and I'm like, well, when I'm in this situation, what do I go to? So I was like, Power Rangers.
Yes.
So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan. It's always Toby.
Okay.
It's Morphin time.
In season 3, there's this crazy episode. It's called I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger. All right. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it's
familiar.
Bonkers. So basically, the Power Rangers are putting on a Christmas pageant with some kids. And then, Lord Zed doesn't like Christmas. And his brilliant plan was to put a curse on a toy top. And then he wanted to mass produce it. So the best place to do that is not Saban, but to go to the North Pole. So freaking Santa Claus is in this episode. And it's crazy. The Power Rangers go to the North Pole. There's elves in this episode. And there's all the shenanigans. There's Christmas carols. The Power Rangers are never in their suits in this episode. They don't have their powers. All the budget went to, I guess, I don't know,
Santa's
Christmas
paycheck.
decorations and stuff. So, yeah, that was I was like, what am I gonna do? I know Power Rangers, so it's not good. It's not good, but it's Power Rangers, so you love it.
But you
that
mean-
would be my pick.
You mean you're not going to go with Alpha's Magical Christmas?
Darn it, Alex, you stole my thunder. I was going to ask about that because that was a directed VHS video, and it's just Alpha in the communications center talking with Zordon like it's an ordinary day. Rangers are off God knows where, and they're just invite a bunch of kids to communication center as if it's like a tour, like a museum tour or something, which, fun fact, that actually is based off a museum, the command center in California. So
I want that VHS.
I'll see if my grandma has it and I can send it to you because she saves everything from my childhood.
No, you know how bad I want that VHS, Brett.
I know you're a VHS aficionado. Like you're more hardcore than me when it comes to buying new ones after they break.
We're actually doing that's the episode we're doing in the end of December. So we're going to be going over that. So I'm excited to talk about. I forgot that it was that his whole plan was I'm going to mass produce this toy.
Because he wants to control kids.
Consumerism.
Exactly. Which is hilarious because Saban is part of Power Rangers, or they own Power Rangers, and they're just a toy making company that just made a TV show as commercials. So,
and I find it also interesting that now Hasbro has the rights to produce new seasons of Power Rangers as well. So it just further drives home the whole toy tie-in, which has always been prominent ever since season 1 in 1993.
For sure, but their toys are garbage. I hate the Hasbro toys.
Yes, let's actually jump back a little bit to Andrew, because he's over there in the corner of the Zoom call. What is your favorite 90s Nick not Nick, but like nostalgic special?
Sure. Yeah. Great pick so far, I just want to say. And as far as Nickelodeon goes, Rocko's Modern Life and Hey Arnold, probably the two top Christmas specials. A lot of these Christmas episodes I feel like are hard to watch at other times of the year, like beyond Christmas time, but a few of them I'll like break that rule for, including those two. But the Christmas episode that like for me has been my favorite for so long, I feel like it just hits the perfect note, is Marge Be Not Proud of The Simpsons.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Aww.
It's such a good one. It's like it's got that perfect like early Simpsons like sentimentality. Like it's not pure gags like it has become kind of. And there's just so much good about this episode. So many of my favorite some of my favorite gags, like the Lee Carvalho putting, one of my like all-time favorites. And there's just like the Troy McClure segment, the Camp Granada. I love Bart being like imagining being in jail for stealing the video game, and it's just so gray and horrible. And like Nelson getting his carpet samples for his like gift. There's something so good about it. Also, one of my all-time favorite like Simpsons just like visual gags is Bart having to put the marshmallow into his own hot chocolate, and it expands to the whole cup because he can't do it, doesn't know how to do it right.
I always wonder if that was possible in real life and what it would taste like.
Yes, yeah. I love how it kind of looks good the way he cuts it and like has a slice. But this it's just one of those episodes that like hits my nostalgia bone, and I think is also just really objectively good too. Hilarious and also like heartfelt in moments, Yeah,
that's a strong pick.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a really well-rounded episode too. Yeah. It's got the charm, it's got the sentimentality, it's got the gags, got a little bit of conflict and tension with that security officer, and of course it's got a very iconic quote. Allie, is this what you were going to say?
Oh yeah, buy me Bone Storm or go to hell.
Yes. The 7 best word phrase in Simpsons history, potentially.
I also just love the visual of Milhouse so excited to enter his name Thrillhouse.
Thrillo. Allie, while we're connecting there, what's your favorite 90s Christmas special?
Well, I'm really glad Andrew mentioned that one, because that, for me, I was having the hardest time between that one and this one that I'm going to throw out. And so for my 90s TV special, it has to be Mr. Bean Christmas episode.
Yes,
Mr. Bean. Yes, absolutely. It's fantastic. It's Mr. Bean at its best. For those aren't familiar, Mr. Bean is this obscure human. They almost present him as like an alien, but just living in society and doing it as horribly as possible. It's basically slapstick. There's no dialogue. It's all visual gags, and it's fantastic. There's so much through it. I love that he like he's bored in the department store. So he goes over to the nativity scene and starts playing with it. And then all of a sudden there's like a dinosaur coming in and like taking out the baby Jesus and all this stuff. And then it's also famous for the turkey gag. So that Friends gag that you might love is actually a Mr. Bean gag first. He gets his head stuck in a turkey.
Was this person Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll recognize him by the silly faces he makes.
It's Rowan Atkinson. From
You've seen him in everything. You just don't know it's him.
But the thing I love most about Mr. Bean is he's not a redeemable character in any way possible. There is no real like moral or like happy solution. It actually ends on kind of a sad note. And he's just kind of a jerk, for lack of a better term. And I think that's what makes it the most fun for me to watch. But if you haven't seen it, it's on Hulu right now. It's free to watch. And I think the whole first season's on there. So if you haven't seen Mr. Bean, get in there because it's fantastic.
Going along with your him being a jerk, an example is he's about to go to bed for the night. He sits down at his chair. He's got his little table beside him, and it's got his candies, and turns on the television, and it's action. Now it changes the channel. Action. No, changes the channel. Horror. Now turns it off. He's done, and then he hears a choir of kids outside of his door, and opens the door, and they were singing Christmas carols to him, and it's very sweet and very pretty, and he gets genuinely excited. Oh, turns the chair around, straightens the tables up, and then sits there and just listens to them and almost falls asleep, then grabs the candies and stands up and walks to the door, waits for them to finish, and then just slams the door on them and puts the candy away.
Yeah. Those are just his social constructs. He has none. So he's like, well, they're done. I'm done listening to this. So bye.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, free to watch on Hulu. Go check it out if you haven't. It's definitely like the one Christmas TV special with that and the Simpsons one that Andrew just mentioned that I have to watch every year.
Excellent pick, Ali.
So here's my gift to everybody here and listening. Just Google Mr. Bean Photoshop. You're welcome.
Gosh.
Is this
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's like up there with the Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah, on his face on like everything. Like
yeah.
Little Mermaid and whatnot.
Oh man, it's hysterical.
Let's go to Toby and Brooke. Do you each have a separate one or do you have the same one?
Yeah, we have separate ones.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so this episode really stood out to me, but it was 1994, December 1994, and one of my favorite shows was and still is Family Matters, and the Family Matters ran for almost 10 years. I and it was another show that really could seamlessly tackle serious issues and then be funny. And they and I mean, over the course of, I think it's 9 or 10 seasons, I mean, they tackled race and I mean, racial profiling and violence in schools. And I mean, I really, those things stuck with me, you know, but there was a Christmas episode and they had several. And one of them was called Miracle on Elm Street. And it was about, so little Richie, is a little kid, you know. Yeah. He brings home a homeless man because for him, like, you know, it's like, hey, you know, it's Christmas. I thought I'd be nice. I'd bring home this homeless man. And Carl and the family, you know, and oh gosh, I love Reginald Bell Johnson. Yeah, we love Carl Winslow in this house. And well, not only that, he was also Sergeant Powell in Die Hard. Yep. So he's freaking. Yeah, and but Carl's great too because he's a tough guy, but he's a big teddy bear too. Yeah, and so little Richie brings home this homeless guy. His name's Ben, and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, what has this kid done? What has he done? You know, bringing home this homeless man." As the episode progresses, Ben is teaching them lessons about Christmas, and you start to think there's more to him than the fact that he's just a homeless guy, and he's played by actor Art Evans. I forget how far into the episode it is where him and Carl have a conversation and he tells Carl that he's Santa Claus. And I'm thinking, is this guy nuts? No, because he knew what Carl wanted for Christmas when he was a kid, which was this space helmet. But here's what's cool. Carl didn't get it. Like Carl wanted it one year and Carl was mad and he didn't believe in Santa because of it.
Right.
I don't know what it was that really moved me about it, but it was this, and you know, the acting in it's fantastic. It's a great cast. But Ben, you know, or Santa, he says he's Santa, and he says, you know, I remember that year, Carl. I remember what you wanted, but it was a tough year, and I had to, you know, and I was thinking, wow, okay, so Santa, he doesn't get it all right, you know. It was just, he was just
very adult.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, no, I didn't just wave my hand and make gifts appear. So like Carl had to learn this lesson that it's not always about these gifts that you want. It turned out to be a really sweet episode and really moving. And of course, Carl, he gets it in the end.
Of course.
He gets his space helmet and then he realizes, oh my gosh, the guy was Santa.
It's like Neil with the weenie whistle from Santa Claus.
Yeah. And it always stuck, you know, that episode always stuck with me. Plus, you know, growing up with Christmas, most of the time Santa is this big jolly.
Well, he's not homeless.
No, he's not. He's always in the red suit, and he's this big jolly white guy with a beard. Yeah. But Art Evans is black, and he also was just dressed kind of like a homeless guy. And he told Carl, he said, "I disguised myself as a homeless man at Christmas, I guess just to kind of." So he can, you know, be around people. And I was like, that is one of that is the best portrayal of Santa Claus.
Well, you can tell if a person's really a nice person by how they treat a stranger, not just
right. And I was like, what a brilliant take on Santa that he didn't just sit up there like in this office, I guess, and eat cookies and eat cookies. He like hangs out with people. Yeah. And again, I'm thinking in the you know, as if Santa were real, but like,
isn't
he? What I'm saying is. That he would be among people, among people who need the most, you know, and I just thought, wow, that always stuck with me, and I thought that was so cool when he gets his helmet too. I just love that. So yeah, it was a great show. That's my favorite Christmas episode.
Can anybody name anything that Reginald Vell Johnson has done where he was not a police officer? I can think of 3 things, and all 3 of them. He was a police officer.
No.
He was in RoboCop too, wasn't
he? He was in Ghostbusters.
Oh, Ghostbusters. Okay.
Yep, he was in Ghostbusters.
Has anyone seen his Planters Peanuts commercial?
No.
Yeah, that's a new thing. I literally saw it last night on Instagram. He has a Planters Peanut. He comes out singing in a suit and everything. Is hilarious.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that now.
That's such a choice to make to get back into.
But yeah,
like, I'll make it. It's the peanut commercials where we're gonna do it.
I heard he was the real Santa.
Well, Brooke, what is your pick?
Okay, so mine's a little bit weird because it's not like a show. But when it was so monumental to me as a child, and I'm probably getting a lot of groans, and that's fine.
No.
Okay, so we all remember TGIF, and we miss it. In 1997, TGIF did like a holiday special with Hanson.
Yes.
Okay, I had a feeling I was like, Cassandra's gonna feel me on this. And it was Meet Hanson. And I felt like it was maybe a fever dream, like, because I know it happened, but like I used to like look for it and like it's like it didn't exist. So I Googled it the other day. Finally, I was like, I know I sat and waited by my TV set and pressed record when it came on. Like, I know these things happen. My mom still has it. So, but yes, it was an actual, you can Google it. You can find it on YouTube. And Hanson, and I listen to this album every year, Snowed In.
Yes, and it's blue and white. Great album.
I have a poster. I have a Snowed In poster in my classroom full of teenagers. They know I'm not cool. It's fine. And it's on the wall. I have no shit. Well, it's not on the wall now. It was. I had to take it down. But like, I just love Hanson. So this TV special is at first, it looks like a Dick Clark, like old black and white, like, you know, like the Beatles or something like that. And then it bursts into color as Bop, you know, hurts all our ears, except me, because I love it.
Greatest song of all time.
If they had not done
no, you don't even get to talk.
I still haven't figured out the exact lyrics of Bop, but I'm getting closer
what?
every time.
It's
It's a secret no one knows.
There's
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about it.
That's a really good album, actually.
It is a really good album. It's one of my favorite Christmas albums. So they start like that, and then they kind of do a walkthrough of like, I'm sure you remember, Cassandra, that VHS that came out like Tokyo, Australia in the middle of nowhere, and I watched it all the time. But they did kind of a short little montage of that, and then they did it looked like it was going to be this 1960s Christmas special, and they had their little sweaters and like everything's going wrong, and then they do songs from their album and then a mini concert. And I remember being at school and being like, guys, it's happening tonight, guys, we're gonna be on tonight. And like we were so excited, and I was like, I have it on VHS. Oh my god, Ashley, like we were so, it was such a big deal. And like what's funny is that I don't watch that every year, but I think of it and I'm like, that was so monumental to me in 1997 when I was going to marry Taylor Hanson. It obviously didn't work out, which is fine. But fun fact, actually, my family they're friends with Hanson, so I really actually kind of had some grounding to go on. I was like, I can make this happen. I can call Marylinda and she can get them to go to church together. It's fine. But they're all happy. God bless them. But wait, but
they're still making records.
They are, and they're good. Have you heard them lately? They're
They were on Masked Singer not that long ago.
I love
Oh my
them.
goodness. I recently just got into Masked Singer because of my girlfriend. So I guess I'm in for a few surprises if they're on there. Because I've already binged the first 3 seasons while I was here.
So good.
They use their music in some kids movies now, so Minions and stuff like that. So my kids are familiar with them too.
That's
which is cool.
Great. But yeah, I mean they're incredible musicians. They're really awesome, singing. But yeah, it's a weird special because it's Christmassy, but it's not like canon.
Yeah, were you able to find it on YouTube or anything?
Oh yes, it's in so I'll send you the links.
Yes, thank
Part
you.
1, 2, and 3. It's a 30-minute special. It's like an actual holiday special. And on the part 1, 2, and 3, they have the commercials from 1997 from like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Teen Angel, and I was like, all this trash. It was so great.
Such a throwback.
I need that.
They had a huge montage of commercials, and it's like 5 minutes of commercials, and I was like, I'm not even fast forwarding it. I love this.
No, see, like, could you imagine going into a thrift store and you grab a VHS that it's just somebody's home movies and you put it on and that's what you got?
I would weep.
Right?
I would weep rivers.
For 98 cents.
So that's my strange Christmas special.
No, it's a great pick. I mean, you were talking with me yesterday about your pick, and I was like, this is a thing? But I saw the link, and lo and behold, it existed. So who knew that they were more than just a one-hit wonder?
Right.
The Hanson brothers also own a brewery.
Right.
What's that?
The Hanson brothers also own a brewery, and they have a beer called Hop.
But Brett, you are right though, Brett. Like they did only have one hit. Like
it was monumental, but I can't name another song by them. I just know that it's the 3 guys that look like girls with the long blonde hair.
Yep,
and they're very catchy.
Popular enough to host a whole night of Snick.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're wholesome.
An honor.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. That's a great pick, Brooke. Totally out of left field, but I love it.
Hey,
Yeah.
before we go on, I just want to say, because it's for Max. So today, Brooke went to the thrift store and brought this home.
Oh man.
Yo, that's amazing.
94, baby.
It's Bandai. It's from 94. And look, it does like a shin kick or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like a pass to soccer ball.
Okay, so
Fantastic.
those of you who are listening, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, go to YouTube and see it. But they've got a Zach Power Ranger action figure, and it does the karate kick action like Buzz Lightyear.
Yes.
To infinity, I'm beyond.
Yeah, so Brooke came in and said, "This is from the 90s," and when she showed it, I forgot. And it's the mastodon and everything. Like,
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
yeah,
I
so
do have to say that I own the White Ranger version that I actually got for Christmas in 1994 or 5, whenever the second season of Power Rangers was. And I remember being like so blown away that no one else had it in school. And I brought it with me to 2nd grade to show it off like to all my Power Ranger friends. Like, whoa, that's so cool. No one else has that one. And then as a stroke of bad fortune, I was playing with it in the bathroom, and his cool gold vest separated. I didn't know it separated, and I accidentally flushed it down the toilet. So now I had I had a plain white Ranger figure, and when I showed it to my friends next time, I went to school, they're like, something feels off about him. Why is he naked?
What's this?
He looks naked.
Yeah, because he's just all plain white. There's like no even black colored in diamond or anything. It's the strangest thing.
That's a bootleg.
I think
it was authentic.
I think some of my soul just left my body.
Yeah, sorry about that. I did not know better. I flushed many toys down the toilet by accident as a kid. But moving on from that.
No, it's crazy you say that because my brother flushed a Ninja Turtle down the toilet.
How big?
Oh, that's the origin story.
Yeah.
Did it. He was the creator.
In the sewers.
That's how Splinter found him. Yeah. My turtles.
Does he flush easier than a corn cob? For those of you who remember Door Unlocked from Are You Afraid of the Dark. Enough about toilet humor. Let's go to Portland. What's your favorite 90s Christmas special that you recall?
That's an unfortunate little transition there because I was going to say the Ren and Stimpy Christmas special.
I was just going to say, speaking of potty humor, Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Which one? Because they technically had two.
Yes.
I was thinking of Son of Stimpy. That was the one that kind of immediately came to my mind when you talked about doing the Christmas episode. I got to say, though, I haven't seen it in probably like 25 years at least. It's not one that I remember regularly watching. It was like when I think of Christmas specials, the first one's Hey Arnold, but I don't know, there was just something fun about nostalgia is kind of having like those inkling of memories of old things that you used to watch and then kind of like trying to piece it together and think about what it is for a while. And that's kind of what I did with that Ren and Stimpy episode. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember being quite young and watching it and really enjoying it. But I had older brothers, so
yeah,
they kind of helped me out there.
That's a great pick because I actually did some research for that when I originally made this a top 5 list, and I found some more information behind the story. So aside from the basic plot that Stimpy has his first fart like ever, and he thinks he accidentally gave birth to a kid named Stinky. He like cherishes him, and then he somehow runs away, floats away, and then he goes on this epic frigid journey out into the cold in some random city looking for Stinky, and he's like searching in police stations. He goes to like the Salvation Army Santa's like butt to see if he's hiding there, and all these crazy things. And meanwhile Ren's just like, whatever, okay, when is this episode over? And then they finally like reunite and they get Stimpy home, and they just have a very heartfelt moment here. And I remember John Kay commenting about this because the part of the thing that made Ren and Stimpy successful through the Nickelodeon era when it first aired was that Vanessa Coffey's like heartfelt emotions with like her involvement with the show helped balance John Kay's mania. And we touched upon that in Noble Nostalgia when I did favorite Ren and Stimpy episodes with them. But he actually made that episode kind of as a joke or a poke at Hollywood because he felt that you shouldn't be able to elicit people's emotions just by like very well-timed musical cues. Like I'll prove to you that what I'm saying is like just produced trash and not actually made with love and care like some of the other Christmas specials are. So taking that idea to the next level, he's like, why don't I just like do something totally random that you wouldn't even expect to have empathy for, like a fart that has a face and can talk. And yet even with those musical cues and the very loose narrative that like took us on this journey of Stimpy essentially looking for his lost son that he just gave birth to, somehow a funny thing happened where most people could relate to that like struggle and closeness to having a child and just being a parent and having that love there when you're together with them, that it became a big hit. And I don't know how John Kay felt about that specifically after it aired. You'll have to ask him himself if you could reach him, but it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter how the format is, whether it's produced or if it's actually heartfelt, as long as you can resonate with it in some sort of meaningful way, that's all that counts. And, it ended up breaking conventions by proving that when it aired and was a hit with viewers of all ages.
And it was played so serious. I think it was just as serious as the Doug Christmas special.
Oh, geez.
Yes, that you had your gross humor. Stimpy was talking to the boogers underneath the seat to see if they knew where the fart had gone, but they still played it so seriously.
Here's a fun Klickstein fact. Mitchell Kriegman during that time was the one doing like the final on the storyboards for Ren and Stimpy. So of course he's a creator of Clarissa Explains It All.
Yeah, it's surprising to think how well the people we love for creating these shows like Pete and Pete, Clarissa Explains It All, etc., were also involved in other shows that we loved either before they got really popular or like, just wanted to lend a helping hand. Like before I started doing 90s podcasting, just for example, I never knew that Will McRobb wrote episodes for Kablam or was involved with Ren and Stimpy along with Mitchell Kriegman, and that Craig Bartlett originally worked on Rugrats before he got to start on Hey Arnold with his own series. So it's really interesting to see how the dots connect and how they share that like similar sentimentality, kind of like we have as podcasters who all talk about 90s nostalgia, but in our own specific flavor, and how that kind of, generates that love and warmth that we associate with all the nostalgia that we keep coming back to.
And I do want to say that this episode of Ren and Stimpy has the one quote that I use all the time. And there's a part where Ren is very concerned with Stimpy. It's been a long time and he's very sad and very depressed. And Ren tries to get Stimpy to get some kind of emotion back. But his answer is always, I don't care.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time in that context, in that inflection, when my wife wants to know, so when do you want to get something to eat? I don't care.
Sounds so sad and depressed. Let me cheer you up somehow.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's a great pick, Cortland. I'll briefly mention for anyone curious and unaware that the other Ren and Stimpy Christmas special out there was like around season 5.
Yep.
And it was called A Scooter for Yaksmiths. And it actually featured Stinky Whistleteats of all people, who sang the Happy Happy Joy Joy song as like the Santa fill-in, who like delivered presents to people down their chimneys in the weird Ren and Stimpy way. But we'll probably talk about that at a later point. All right, last but not least, Cassandra, what have you got for us?
All right, perfect. My pick is going to be The Secret World of Alex Mack.
Oh, I had no idea. I thought it was going to be Cat Dog.
But this is like a multi-layered experience. My actual choice, it's very avant-garde. I'm going with Pee Wee Herman experience of it all, okay? Because my actual pick is episode number 35 of The Big Orange Couch. So they covered this episode. It was amazing. And it was from December 1995. And basically a chimpanzee gets loose in town in like a tree. What are they called? Like a tree I don't want to say a factory, but like
sawmill.
No.
Tree lot.
Yeah, thank you. A tree lot. And he gets powers. He ingests the G6-161 and shenanigans are afoot, and Alex Mack uses her powers for some reason to make a peace sign in the sky, and it's just all very magical and Christmassy, and it's a great episode. And also it's just a great episode of their podcast in general.
Yeah. I actually revisited The Gift not too long ago, and I forgot how bonkers it was with like the monkey being doused with GC-161. That's it. Sure. And like Alex trying to sell a Christmas tree to Annie, her sister, and her boyfriend, and how like what's Vince's like friendly lackey's name, who like takes the chimp home and like spends Christmas with him watching TV. I thought that was very goofy and charming. So yeah, it's a good pick. Very under the radar, but I think, if you're an Alex Mack fan, it's worth checking out, even if you're just doing it out of pure curiosity.
Yeah, even as like a one-off Christmas episode, it's fun. And then my other suggestion would be, if you're kind of like into commercials, maybe go find some Stickly. I think there's like 2 Stickly shorts out there for Christmas. One where he's trying to get a dog for Christmas, and I have to look for the other one. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Sounds like some deep cuts. We'll have to scour the corners of the internet to find them.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you all, podcast pals, for sharing your favorite 90s nostalgic Christmas specials with us. It was a load of fun, and there were quite a few surprises that I did not expect. But, that's part of the fun. Before we move on, I just want to give a moment for some people who were not able to attend tonight, but did want to still be part of this episode. So we're going to give them a quick little segment where they can share their thoughts on their 90s Christmas specials.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me on. This is Treasure Hunter Maxwell from Relic, the Lost Treasure podcast, and the RPG Treasure Chest. As you can tell, I really like the name Treasure. And I've been friends with Brett for an embarrassingly long time. And of course, we share a love of old cartoons, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. So thank you for having me on this holiday special to talk about holiday specials. How meta. I grew up watching Nickelodeon cartoons, so this is really, really cool. And I remember really well all of the holiday specials and the Christmas specials. But what I thought was so important growing up actually was the Rugrats Hanukkah special, because, I'm not from a Jewish background, but to actually see another culture portrayed on television and educate me as a child on the story of other people's traditions and practices, I thought that was really special. I mean, when I looked up the information on the Hanukkah special, which I had never done before, it was the first, I think it was one of the first Hanukkah-related programs for children's television. So I think that was really important for me as someone from a different background to learn about other cultures' practices. And then when you look at the show, the fact that the Rugrats really has a lot of portrayals of different types of families. So Dee Dee and Stu are a mixed religious family, because I think Dee Dee's from a Jewish background and Stu is from a Christian background, because of course they have the Christmas special as well. And to see mixed families like that with like mixed faiths, that's really important as a child to know that like that's out there. So for me, like learning about all of the traditional holidays that the Rugrats did, because I think they did Kwanzaa as well. That was just really cool and really important. So I look back on like learning about that stuff, because I wouldn't have really learned it from anywhere else. And I think it was a pretty positive portrayal from what I remember. So yeah, like Rugrats, absolutely just amazing when it comes to just the humor and their holiday specials. So yeah. Thank you for having me on. That's what I wanted to talk about. Definitely look up the Rugrats Hanukkah special and the Rugrats Passover special, which is also really great. And if you want to check out my stuff, Relic, the Lost Treasure podcast, is about lost treasures and all of the history and mystery behind them. RPG Treasure Chest is about video games and RPGs, specifically JRPGs for the most part. And you can connect with me at Twitter at Lost Treasure Pod. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate this month. It's all festive, all good. Eat lots of food and just have a good time, and love each other. Bye.
Hello, Brett and Alex at Splat Attack podcast. This is Robin, Marcy, and Adam at the Black Case Diaries, and we're going to talk about our favorite Christmas specials.
Yeah.
From 90s?
Hey.
The 90s?
Yeah, from the 90s.
That decade before the 2000s.
Yeah. God, so long ago. Right?
Seems like forever
Do you guys remember it?
Barely.
Yeah.
It almost didn't exist.
Yeah. Oh, it was so long ago.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but we are tasked with talking about our favorite, I think, in the realm of Nickelodeon, children's content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Marcy, what is your favorite
so
90s Christmas special?
As a kid, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of programs. Didn't really have Nickelodeon a lot, didn't have Disney, but I did get to watch Doug every so often here and there. And so that's why kind of it's a little bit special to me. And there was a Doug's Christmas Story from season 4 that's just adorable, and because it was one of the only things I got to watch usually, it's just kind of special to me. So
yeah, that's the one where Porkchop is on trial.
He's on trial.
The criminal.
Yeah, thought to have attacked BB.
Yeah. And I remember this one. We had it on VHS.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man,
Classic.
very 90s.
Yes, yes. And it had a lot of the Christmas movie tropes in it, and it was cute.
Yes.
And it was just so sweet. Him and his dog, and I know you really love your
classic
dog.
Doug. Yeah. Yeah. I had a dog when I was younger that I just loved to death, and yeah, so very personal.
Very cute.
So, yeah.
I have a bit of a different one because if I'm shunned, I apologize for picking a Disney one. Don't get me wrong, I love Nickelodeon too, but one that is very special to me is Winnie the Pooh and Christmas 2.
Aww.
Yes, from 1991.
Oh,
Yes.
just barely made it in there.
Barely.
Yeah.
Sneaking it in. But I love it so much because Winnie the Pooh was one of my absolute all-time favorite things to watch back when I was younger. All of the movies, the original Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and then the TV show that was out for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And this Christmas special was actually part of the show, and it was just this tale of them all writing what they wanted for Christmas to Santa because Christopher Robin told them about it. And it's just really sweet, and I have such a connection to Winnie the Pooh. I love it very much. And it's funny because when they actually did eventually bring this special to VHS, it was like a home movie, and they edited multiple Christmas things or holiday-esque things together into one full-length thing.
Aww.
So you can tell when the animation changes which one they cut from. It's very funny. But I love it very much, and I have that one on VHS as well.
Heck yeah. Oh, man.
Lots of VHSs.
Lots
Yeah.
of them.
We are, very 90s people.
Yeah, we are.
I think my favorite Christmas special from the 90s was Arnold's Christmas from Nickelodeon. I think it was
Classic.
probably one of the best Christmas specials ever made by anybody.
Yeah, ever.
But since that's, the gold I'll talk about a different one. I also really like Oh, Christmas Pete.
Oh.
From The Adventures of Pete and
Yeah.
Pete, season 3. Pete and Pete's one of my favorite shows, and there's this episode that, the show is really good at encapsulating parts of childhood that you kind of forget a little bit maybe when you grow up.
Yeah.
Forget what that was like. And there's this episode where little Pete is tired of Christmas ending, which is something that I totally get. Because when we were kids, Christmas was really fun and cool and special.
Yeah.
And then basically the next day, it was over. It was done. People were putting their trees on the curb.
Just so sad, so fast.
Yeah,
Stop being friends.
yeah, they took the decorations down, and it was kind of like, why is it just one day? Can it be a little bit longer? And in this episode, little Pete extends Christmas for as long as possible. There's this evil man that wants to demolish all of the Christmas trees, and it's really fun. But I remember that being one of the biggest things when we were kids. It was so sad to see all the trees on the curb. My parents kept our tree up midway through January when I was a kid because we just didn't like the fact that it was so quick, over so fast. So it's one of those kind of goofy episodes. He puts on a presentation where he says, this is us yesterday, and they're all like happy and cheerful. And today they're just sadly ripping off the ornaments from the tree and
throwing away the wrappers from the presents.
Yeah, so I really like that one. That's a really fun
That's a good one,
special.
too.
Yeah. It reminds me of my childhood, so.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
The best way to be for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
A child.
A child.
So thank you for allowing us to talk about our favorite specials.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you guys soon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you later.
Thank you so much, guys, for chiming in with us. Those were all great picks, and we really appreciate it. And for Slimesters and Geckoids at home, we want to know, what are some of your favorite 90s Christmas specials? Let us know on Instagram at Splat Attack Podcast if you would like to share your choices with us. But before we go, we have to do one of our segments because it ain't a Splat Attack podcast without one of our patented segments. We're going to play Think Fast to Make the Grade Holiday Edition. Time to think fast to make the grade. All right. So for Think Fast to make the grade, it's basically trivia that somehow has a theme that's related to the episode that we're doing. And, you know, I was waffling back and forth between, do I do 90s Nick or do I do like 90s nostalgia in general? And I figure I just go with 90s Nick because all of us have seen at least one 90s Nick special. So the questions aren't quite too hard, but should still bend your brain in ways based on what I say. Question 1. What is the alternate title to Rocko's Modern Christmas?
Can't squeeze cheer from a cheese log?
That is correct.
How do you know that?
As weird as that sounds,
So impressive.
as weird as that sounds, the alternate title is You Can't Squeeze Cheer from a Cheer Log, because Rocko is all about that Christmas cheer that no one else seems to believe in.
If that's the first question, I have no hope.
Are you exposing the rest of us so there's no more nostalgia podcasts? Because if you want us to get rid of us, let us know.
There's definitely tears, you know. I'm like, oh crap.
I didn't bring you here to pick you off. I bring you here so that we can share family togetherness.
I heard this podcast is pretty good, but they didn't get any of those questions right.
Nostalgia podcast survivor.
Okay, what is the name of Rocko's friend? Just kidding. That's a big question. Question 2. What does Helga give to the government worker to help find my win? And what is the retail price for that item in Arnold's Christmas?
I don't. Well, she gives him the Nancy Spumoni snow boots.
Mm-hmm.
How much did they retail for?
In the show, like 90s money, not real money.
Yeah.
And also no looking it up.
Taking into account, were they $100? Because he gave Arnold $300. So I'm gonna guess 100. Okay.
Nope. The answer is that they were $500 in 90s money. So that's like what, $1,200 now?
Oh
yeah. Only gave him $300.
So he wouldn't have been able to get the boots anyway.
Yeah.
He was scammed him.
God.
Plot
I
hole.
like him even less now.
Yeah. Well, that's Mr. Bailey for you. Stick in the mud.
Oh man.
Moving on. Question 3. In Merry Christmas, Kenan, what item does Kenan want for Christmas and what does he do to get it?
Oh, this is a 2-part question. Man, that's like
Get the half point.
Sorry, I like to make my questions dense. Otherwise,
show
it
your
seems too
work.
easy.
If we were in math class, it's the show your work. Oh my God, I can't just
Sorry.
We're teachers, but we don't want to be taught.
Please explain.
All right,
Explain your
half
answer.
point.
I'm sorry. No, you wanted a bike.
I'm telling him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mountain bike.
Okay. Yep, you're right. And what does he do to get it?
I digress.
Come on, we talked about this. Were you paying attention?
I digress.
He did a stand-in as Santa Claus at the mall.
That is correct. Half point for Eric.
All right, so far we have 1 whole point for Andrew, half points for Phil, Toby, and Eric.
Should I mention that?
Can we pull our points?
All right. Question 4. What does Angelica trade to Phil and Lil so that they can give a complimentary gift to their sibling for an item they already have?
Yeah, I know 2 of the items, but not all 4.
Oh, what are the 2?
Well, I think Lil trades in crayons, and then there's like a Reptar coloring book, and then there's also a Reptar helmet, and is it a Reptar doll?
You got all 4?
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Like Jenga. It's like which one? Okay.
Impressive. Impressive.
Did he just get a whole point?
1
I
point
guess
for
so.
Ellie. Yeah.
Huge.
That was in quarters.
All right. Question 5. Halfway through. What are the names of both Ren and Stimpy Christmas specials?
Well, I think I can do one of those. So I'll get a half a point here, you guys. Son of Stimpy is one of them.
That is correct, Cortland. Half a point for you.
Is it a Scooter for Yaxmas?
That is correct. Half point for Ellie. And
Ellie is in the lead at 1.5 point.
okay, so in Son of Stimpy, Stinky mentions at the end that he can't like stay with Stimpy because he's getting engaged. What is he getting engaged to, and what is that, I guess, character's name? It's nearly impossible unless you're a diehard fan that watches this as often as I do. Allie, hopefully you know it.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to twist your guys' arm anymore. It's a rotting fish head, and her name is Cora.
Right.
Oh my god.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The more you know. Question 6. This one might sting a little. In Doug's Christmas story, what was Pork Chop sent to the dog pound for, and what did he do in reality that proved his innocence?
I haven't seen this one in a really long time, but wasn't he accused of biting BB? Was that her name, right? And then he was trying to get her out of the thin ice.
That is correct. Full point for Cortland.
Nice.
Cortland and Allie are now tied.
Ooh, awesome. Question 7. In Oh Christmas, Pete, what happened that caused the vile garbage man to have a change of heart from destroying Christmas? 5 seconds. Anyone?
For shame, Andrew.
And Allie and Cassandra. Pete fans. All right. No one got this one.
Well, Cassandra, since you can't raise your hand, just go yell me. Well, you can raise your hand, but we can't see it.
He's
wrapped up all the trash and Christmas lights.
Yeah. He witnessed all the piles of trash out in the streets of Wellsville decorated like Christmas trees, and that gave him a change of heart because it looked beautiful.
Oh.
But as a bonus question, since no one got that one, what did Garbage Man sarcastically state he wanted for Christmas upon infiltrating the Wrigley's living room? The answer is an electric fork.
Wow.
Never guessed.
Ooh, an electric fork. Just what I've always wanted. Yeah, that's how he says it. Okay. Question 8. In Alex Mack's The Gift, what does Alex do to earn money so she can buy gifts for her family for Christmas?
She's selling Christmas trees?
That is correct.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's why she's at the Christmas tree lot. Duh, thank you.
Christmas tree factory.
Right.
Factory slash lot.
That's a sawmill.
Nursery
Sawmill.
slash sawmill. Yes, Andrew gets a point for that one.
Andrew is
Damn
now in the
it.
lead
What?
by
I
half
knew
a
it.
point.
It was going to take me a little bit longer to get there.
He assisted you. He gets the point. Okay. Question 9. In A Very Cat Dog Christmas, what does Rancid Rabbit's niece want for Christmas, despite the fact that she already has everything in the mall?
A little cheat because I've watched this one really recently, but cat dog is the answer.
That is correct. And
Aw.
that's also your next episode on Big Orange Couch. So for anyone who's listening to both of our podcasts, that's how you can get the trivia right when they do it.
They actually have like cat dog plushies and they are super cute.
I also had a bonus part for this as well. What is the name of Rancid Rabbit's niece?
Rancine.
Correct.
You know, you
Rancid
don't have to
Rabbit
give me
and
two
Rancid.
for this though.
Okay. 2 halves then.
Since
You get 1
since
point.
I-
Let's see. Last question, actually. Do we want a point recap before we do the final question?
So far, Andrew is in the lead with 3, and Allie and
Ooh.
Cortland are at 1.5 point, and Phil, Toby, and Eric at half a point.
All right. Cool. So question
Comeback
10.
time.
In the Angry Beavers episode, Gift Horse, what do Norbert and Daggett get for Christmas, respectively?
A lot of head scratching and a lot of scowls on faces.
I thought this would be a lot easier because we all like 90s nostalgia.
That was straight up dig, Brett.
I wasn't trying to dig. I tried to make things
I
easy, but-
expected more from you, nostalgic people.
I'm a fraud.
No, most people just don't like Angry Beavers. I get it. So the answer is Norbert gets a train set, a rather big one at that, and Daggett gets a pine tree air freshener. So yeah, that's Think Fast to Make the Great Holiday Edition. I believe Andrew, you're the winner.
Congrats, Andrew.
Oh,
good job, Andrew.
Thank you.
So
Guys.
here's what we have for our fabulous prizes. Andrew, since I'm feeling rather generous today and we have all of our podcast friends here, I have decided that on behalf of Splat Attack, we're going to donate $50 to your charity of choice for Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks
So-
so much. That's awesome.
Let us know what charity you'd like to send it to, either on or off pod, and we'll take care of that for you.
For sure. I'll pick one out and let you know.
Awesome. And for everyone who's a runner-up, you get an art print of your choice from Brett Wilson Art or 3 stickers that I've made. So no one's going away empty-handed. I'm just happy to have you all here.
Thank you. Yeah. That's awesome of you.
Very nice.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hell
and
yeah.
Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm so happy that we got this together, despite all the challenges. And, at the end of the day, the gift of friendship is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I feel like I remember watching that Angry Beavers episode last year with you on one of your watch parties.
Yeah, I did do
Yeah,
that for the
right?
Christmas one. Buddy the Elf, I was dressed up as for Buddy
Okay.
Television. And for our listeners at home who are tuning into this episode, we have a question for you, in addition to the other one that we mentioned. What's a show that you love from the 90s that doesn't have a Christmas special, but you would like to have one? If you have any
Ooh.
ideas at all, please email us at splatattack2021@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram, and we will share your answers on a future episode.
Wow.
This might be tricky to pull off, but for my answer for that question, I would personally like to see a Christmas episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Definitely.
Say it.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, they have that April Fool's episode. Like, they can do it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's a more popular holiday. And I know Joey actually wrote an episode for Write a Christmas episode special on your podcast. So it's not impossible. It's got to think outside the gift box, if you will.
Yeah, just you got Krampus. I mean, that'll work, right?
Yeah, right. That's an easy given. You can do like a cursed object for Christmas too. That's another one, like the carved stone. Who knows? But yes, if
Or a top, like Power
right,
Rangers.
the tail of the dreidel of doom. If you want to make it Hanukkah. There you go.
And it can belong to a golem. See, we got Jewish monsters.
We could all write an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode together, you guys.
Exactly. DJ McHale, I hope you're listening to this because we have ideas for you. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for 90s Christmas specials of Splat Attack. Podcast friends, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And for all of you lovely listeners, Slimesters, Gackoids, and everyone who are just finding us for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. We'd love if you can check out any of our podcasts that we have mentioned during this episode, as well as give any of us ratings and reviews, because frankly, that just helps us get seen by more people. And we love meeting new people and love growing our podcast in the 90s Nostalgiaverse.
Before we sign out, let's get some deets from everybody so our listeners know where to find them all.
I'm Andrew again from the Big Orange Couch podcast. You could find that in many places, but if you Google it, I think it comes up pretty near the top. And I have 2 novels out, Space Junk and More Space Junk, if you want to check those out. They are pretty easy to find on Amazon. Also, you can check out my website at andrewbixler.com, BIXLER. That is all my information. And thank you guys so much for having me. This was
Thank you for being here.
Definitely. It was a pleasure. And I finally know what you look like after all these years.
Again, my name is Max, repping Ready to Retro. If you like 80s, 90s, come find us. I mean, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. You can follow us on Instagram at Ready to Retro. For this month, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Hook. So we just dropped that review. We also have 2 small, Thomas Tulloch, who is on set as one of the Lost Boys. We got to interview him, so that was a lot of fun. And then we are rounding the year off with the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter. I know a lot of listeners here like Nickelodeon. Last month we did Nick November, so go follow us at Ready to Retro.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, is where I'm present the most. My handle is @lifeofcole. And I do 2 podcasts with my buddy Mike Anderson, who's a comic book illustrator. We have a horror movie podcast that we've started like in 2015. It's called the Scary Movie Ice Cream Night podcast. And it's based on he and I real life hangouts. We were college buddies and we lived across the street from each other for a couple of years. We'd watch horror movies every night or every weekend and eat ice cream. When I moved to Tennessee, we decided to turn this into a podcast and kind of document some of our movie watchings and ice cream talks. So it's developed over the years into just like general horror talk. So it's not just movies. We tell ghost stories or strange things, experiences we've had or have happened to us. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And then every October we go absolutely nuts for Halloween. usually putting out like 10 episodes in like 4 weeks. And then we started a new show back in 2018 called the Saturday Morning Ice Cream podcast. And that is a retrospective look into our childhood. So instead of focusing on a topic from the past, we kind of we talk about more of our memories based around certain things, whether it's food, clothing, things we did, activities. So it's more of like a talking about our childhoods with a heavy dose of nostalgia, and we use a lot of commercials and things like that to kind of spark the conversations and really go kind of deeper than just I liked the Ninja Turtle, or I like, so it's a lot of fun. And that's probably my favorite show because I don't have to watch a movie and get really sleepy when I do. So you can check both of those out on SoundCloud or iTunes. And then, I've got some artwork on Life of Cole at Instagram, and I'd love to see you there.
God. Okay. So we're the Tape Store. You can find us at a lot of places.
On Instagram, we're at the Tape Store. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those things. We love to hang out with you guys, so definitely hit us up.
And it was so nice to meet all of you, and we've had a blast tonight.
And see your faces. It was so great.
I think that's been the best part is seeing the faces of people we've heard of. So
I'm so sorry, you guys.
Cassandra.
What? She looks like Alex Mack in real life.
I look like Daria, basically. Okay. So you can find me at Cassandra Explains It All. I'm on Instagram, anywhere you can find a podcast. And that's it, really. I do a lot of episodes, like I said, with Brett and with Notable Nostalgia, and sometimes Big Orange Couch. So definitely just come find me, message me, bother me, send me memes, whatever, do all the things.
And I'm Allie, and I'm part of the 90s Dungeons and Dragons podcast called Dungeons and Decades. So if you like both D&D and or 90s nostalgia, then it's definitely for you. I also have a Instagram account called @Cribstar Industries, which is a Pete and Pete fan page. So most of my stuff, you can just go to bigdoorprize.com. You can find all of my stuff there. And thanks again for having me. And for everyone who's a guest, I made sure I'm following you on Insta and subscribing to all your pods. So
definitely.
I haven't before, I am now.
Yes.
Once again, I'm Phil, and that's my co-host Eric. All Here It Goes, you can find anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can also find my other show, the Wait For It podcast. Of course, that's going to be super busy soon with Spider-Man coming out and all that kind of stuff. For All Here It Goes, to give you guys a little preview, Tuesday's episode will be Jingle All the Way. It'll be our first movie. And then the other episode will be Power Rangers. So we'll be doing that in the month of December. So super excited for all of that. Believe in the Jaguars. If for some reason you want to listen to that, you can find me there. And this was so much fun. One of my favorite things about doing podcasting is getting to link up with like-minded individuals, meeting people you never would have crossed paths with otherwise. So future collaborations and all that kind of stuff. I can't wait to work with you guys again. This was a whole lot of fun. Eric, if you want to add on anything else, I kind of said everything. My bad.
Phil kind of covered the podcast, but you can also find me at Eric Michael on Instagram. That's AARIC. MYCHAL. Also, if you're in the market for any vintage clothing or nostalgic merchandise, I also run a website called Dopass. That's DOUGHPASS, and you can find us at Dopass on Instagram. You can also find us at dopass.com. And also, thank you for having us here today. I want to make sure I don't leave that out.
You got it, guys. I can't wait to work with you in the
thank you for
future.
having us. It was a good time, guys.
Totally. We'll have you back sometime. And last but not least, Cortland.
Yeah, I'm Cortland. Well, first I want to thank you guys for having me on for the show. I was super excited to kind of get invited to that. So it's really awesome to see all these good podcast buddies and getting their opinions on everything. I love it. I'm Cortland. I'm one of the hosts of a horror anthology podcast called Up All Night, a horror anthology podcast. We were previously Up All Night and Are You Afraid of the Dark podcast, but we kind of ran out of episodes after covering all of them. So we've moved on to Goosebumps, and we plan on moving on to kind of more horror anthology shows from there. On Instagram, we're at Private Island Presents because we like to keep it confusing. On Twitter, at PRVT Island. We do a lot of fun stuff. We make our own GIFs for pretty much every episode that we cover. We do for season 6 and 7 of Are You Afraid of the Dark, we've condensed every single episode into a funny little 1-minute clip. Lots of fun. So hope you guys check it out.
I've seen them. They're phenomenal. Like it's just bite-sized footnotes of Are You Afraid of the Dark and like the silliest bits. Definitely check them out.
I have a lot of fun with them. My favorite one was Laser Maze. I love that one. It's so funny.
That was an
I
episode.
bet you said so.
All right, guys, let's drain the slime tank and head on home. Alex, if you will, pull the lever. Tune in next time as Allie from Notable Nostalgia joins us once again for our episode review of New Year's Pete, rounding out the new year and our first season of Splat Attack. Without further ado, splat you later and happy holidays.
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits.
Hard to believe, folks, but it's time to say goodbye.
Nighty-night.
Hey, check us out next time for more adventure and another great legend of the Hidden Temple.
What'll we do till then?
Chill for a couple. We'll be back. You're on, Nick.
And it was time for the superhero to move on.
I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays from the Nickelodeon family. Doug and Clarissa and Mike and Brad and Kermit and Mark and Ren and Phil and Rocko and Mr. Lippman and Stimpy and Pete and Daffy and Ashley and Tommy and Linda and Dennis and Ross and Porkchop and Ugg and Julene and Log. Happy holidays from Nickelodeon.